Anybody. We'll start with David, second row.
Carlos, win or lose today, you're going home for preferably 3 games. Having only played 2 games in the last 3 weeks or something like that at Citi Field, how much are you looking forward to get back there in that atmosphere?
Yeah, obviously we have an important game to play here today, but exciting. Every time you get an opportunity to play in front of our fan base at Citi Field, especially the way they've been showing up, not only in the playoff, but the last 2 months. It's electric, it's intense, it's fun. So really looking forward to it, but we got to take care of business today.
Go to Tim in the fourth row.
For weeks, you guys were playing for your season at the end of the regular season, then in a very quick 3-game series, then in an also quick 5-game series. Now that you're in a 7-game series, how different and long does that feel?
I don't know that it feels long. I think every game's important, whether it's game 1, game 2, like today. And you're right, I feel like we've been playing the most important games of the season for 2 months now. And here we are after a tough one yesterday. Got to be able to flush that one and then be ready for today's game. So, it's 7-game, 5-game, 3-game set. Every game's important. So,
go to Beth in the second row.
Nimmo's in there today, but how limited is he with the foot?
He's good. He's battling through the foot injury, obviously, but good enough not only to be in the lineup, but to be in the outfield as well. Look, this time of the year, there's a lot of people battling with, you could see Freddie doing it for them, but he's going to be honest with me and with the training staff, and he's good enough to, like I said, not only be in the lineup, but be a player for us defensively as well. So it's good.
Go to Tim up here on the left.
You mentioned you've been playing these really important games for a while now. How much does that experience help you in another really important game today?
It helps, not only for me as a manager, for the coaches, but for the players. This is not the first time we're in a situation where after a tough loss, we found a way to get the job done. And those are the expectations going into today. We know we're facing a really good team on the Dodgers. We saw it yesterday. And this is nothing new for us. So we'll treat it the same. We come here, we prepare. That's what we're doing right now. We want to go out there and compete and give our best. So, yeah.
Barry.
Carlos, how do you explain your team's resilience?
It's been hard for us, the whole year. Ups and downs, a lot of adversity, and we continue to find ways to get the job done. Not only we got really good players, we got really good people that care about each other, and they're not afraid to call each other out when they need to and when they have to. They continue to believe, and they know that after a bad game, there's always an opportunity the next day, and that's the case here, where we didn't play well yesterday. But we know what we need to do to make some adjustments and go out there, and like I said, that's a really good team that we're facing. So, but this group is tough, and we'll continue to find ways.
And I guess part of it is that your big guys like, your shortstop and first baseman have risen to the occasion.
Yeah, and that's why they're, some of the best players in the game, and you need those guys to step up, and they've done that. Lindor's done it, Pete's done it, and those are the expectations. For us to get to where we want to get, we're going to need those guys, and they will continue to show up, and they will continue to help us. So,
Shy, third row on the right.
Carlos, you guys have gotten everything you could have probably hoped out of Sean Manaea so far. What were your sort of realistic expectations for him, and maybe how does that compare to the version of him that you ended up with?
Yeah, we knew we were getting a really good left-handed pitcher that he's been through a lot the past couple of years. Obviously, number one, we needed to keep him healthy. If he was healthy, we knew he was going to help us, But, man, since he makes those adjustments, whether it was lowering his arm slot, he's been unbelievable, and he continues to get better. I think the biggest thing from him was just continue to take the baseball. So coming into a year, we were like, hopefully we got to find a way to keep him healthy, and if he's healthy and taking the ball, we're going to be in a good spot. And you got to give him credit because he's put in a lot of work, and his ability to make adjustments when he needed to, and he continues to go out there and give us a chance to win baseball games. So I'm proud of him, and those are the expectations today, that he goes out there and gives us a chance to win a baseball game.
Go to Andrew, second row on the left.
What's the unique challenge of facing a bullpen game, and how does that preparation look like for your offense coming into today?
Yeah, I think this is not the first time that we're going against a bullpen day. We saw it against the Brewers in the wild card when we knew they were going to use their bullpen aggressively, and they got a good one here too. They got some legit arms. A lot of right-handed pitchers. We'll be ready. We'll be ready for what's thrown at us. We got good hitters. But as far as our preparation, it's not the first time that we're going through a situation like this.
Back to Tim up here on the left.
With Manaea and with Severino and Quintana, those three guys have all stayed healthy all year. They've pitched more innings than they have in the recent past. How have you been able to keep them healthy and to have them really pitching their best at this time of year?
Yeah, you got to give them a lot of credit because they invest in a lot of times in the training room, in the weight room, making sure they're taking care of themselves. And they are in a territory right now where, they haven't been in a long time. You mentioned Sevi, you mentioned Sean, and that's why those extra days when we're going through the decisions and how we're going to line up our rotation, the extra days for those guys was huge. So, but they should feel proud, and then there's a lot of people that work really hard behind the scenes to keep those guys healthy all the way to this point, and they continue to perform. Not only they're taking the baseball, they're giving us a chance to win baseball games. So
We'll take one last one, 4 rows back on the left.
Carlos, no, durante la temporada no tuvieron rachas muy largas de victorias, rachas muy largas de derrotas. La más larga de derrotas fue al principio de la temporada. ¿Cómo ha sido el trabajo para cambiar el chip, para que el resultado de ayer no les pese el día de hoy? ¿Cómo has trabajado con eso?
Sí, mira, tenemos buenos peloteros y nosotros hemos demostrado durante todo el año que tenemos esa capacidad de responder, especialmente cuando no jugamos bien. Ese fue el caso de anoche, un juego que no jugamos bien, pero con el grupo que tenemos, pues que son grandes peloteros y tienen esa habilidad, pues de tener esa memoria corta, como quien dice, pues yo siento que hoy vamos a salir a seguir compitiendo y a dar lo mejor de nosotros y esperar a ver qué pasa.
And we have one more in Spanish with David, second row.
Sí, Carlos, la misma pregunta. Obviamente la meta es ganar hoy, pero por fin van a volver a casa, ganen o pierdan. Entonces, para un trecho un poco más largo, preferiblemente 3 juegos. Entonces, ¿qué tal eso y el ambiente que esperas en el Citi Field?
Sí, obviamente tenemos un importante juego en el día de hoy, después de que esa derrota el día de ayer, pero sabemos que vamos a regresar a Nueva York, vamos a jugar al frente de nuestros fanáticos en Citi Field, que han demostrado pues ser intensos, ser apasionados, y lo han demostrado no solamente en los juegos de playoff que hemos jugado, sino durante los últimos 2 meses de la temporada. De verdad que para nosotros es un honor, es un orgullo poder salir a competir al frente de nuestra fanaticada, y de verdad que estamos emocionados para regresar a Citi Field.
Thanks, Carlos. We'll see you post game.
Most innings you've thrown in a year since you were starting. How do you feel this time of year, and how have you learned to kind of stay fresh as the year's gone on?
Yeah, I feel great right now. I think it's kind of one of those things where I've had to learn as we go. Trying to limit how much I throw before the game and make sure that I'm staying on top of that and doing stuff to recover. But I feel like I've been able to do that, and our training staff has helped me along the way. So, I feel great right now.
A few more for these guys. Andrew.
Reed, how have you kind of evolved as the season's gone on? Obviously, you had that really strong start and kind of faded towards the middle, dealt with some injuries, and now you seem to be pitching at your highest levels.
I think it's one of those things where I've just been trying to throw the ball in the box as much as possible, challenge hitters, do everything I can to get ahead and stay ahead. And I think that's been the biggest part of it so far.
Tim and then JP.
For Phil, you've done this a lot in the postseason. Like, how have you learned how to maintain your body for 6th and then the 7th month of the season as a reliever?
Kind of piggybacking off of Reed, it's learn as you go. I think my first year was a COVID year, so that made it a lot easier from a workload standpoint. But then going to Houston and, with spring training and, 60-some appearances a year, another 10 in the postseason, kind of have the luxury of adrenaline in this time of year. That helps out a lot, but the recovery process is a little tougher this time of year. So leaning on some anti-inflammatories and a little extra work in the training room is kind of just what you have to do.
JP?
You guys have seen a couple bullpen games this postseason from the other side. As relievers, do you like partaking in bullpen games?
You go ahead. That's kind of a tough question. Obviously, we like to be out there and pitch. I think right now, whenever the phone rings and your name's called, I think that's just as soon as they say that you're getting ready to go in the game, that's when it's time to turn it on. If that's in a bullpen game in the first inning, sure. Or if it's in the 9th inning, it's still trying to figure out how to focus to get the mission done and go out there and compete. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, not a huge fan in the regular season. Can be a little bit of a grind, but in the postseason, kind of same thing I said earlier. The adrenaline kind of kicks in. It can be a little tiring doing that for 9 innings, not knowing when you're going to throw, but you're just kind of able to strap it on in these games, and they're so important. It's you just kind of find a way to get it done.
Go to Manuel and then to Andrew.
In a bullpen game, do you generally know when you're going to come into a game, or that's a question for both of you guys, or are you just waiting for the phone to ring?
It's sometimes you know, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they tell you and they do something different anyways. So you kind of take every bit of information with a grain of salt, and ultimately, if you're going to roll out and do that, it's you got to be ready from the first inning. Especially in situations where we're down a game now. We need to apply some pressure and kind of find a way to get back. Leashes are going to be a little shorter in these games now, but it's just kind of got to be ready from the get-go.
And just Reed, yesterday, I know you threw more than 1 inning, although your pitch count was down. Are you available today out of the bullpen? And then that's one question. Secondly, just your pitch selection throughout the season has evolved a bit. You've gone more to the sweeper this year. Toward the end here. How did that come about, and what kind of work have you done to get to that point?
Yeah, I am available today. I think right now it's all hands on deck at all times. So I feel great, like I said earlier. But pitch usage stuff, it's kind of, I'm fortunate where I have more than 2, and I feel like I have the ability to kind of change depending on situations or what feels good that day. I think it's more of just kind of just depending on what I'm seeing in at-bats and what I feel that day. I think that's really the biggest thing, of the confidence in those pitches, and still using everything, but still, if you see something where one pitch feels better than the other, then maybe that day it is that pitch. I think it's just depending on where I'm at and the hitters and stuff like that. I think that's just kind of the things that we go about and do our research on and use it.
Andrew?
Phil, for you, you really emptied the tank there in Milwaukee. What is the challenge of kind of working consecutive days, heavy workload, and then what can you kind of teach maybe some of the more inexperienced playoff arms about what that journey is like kind of through the postseason?
I can't speak for everybody on how they feel with workload, but for me, it's pitch execution just tends to drastically go down, and it's a little harder to get the ball in the box, a little harder to get the edges. With the deep pitch mix and not throwing hard, I really rely on being able to get to the edges a lot and be able to mix my pitches. Some days, on back-to-backs, 3 in a row, sweeper's not there, 4 seams just not in the box, some situations like that. Really just got to find a way to compete, find what's working for you, and just be able to attack hitters and challenge them, especially this time of year and, facing a really disciplined Dodgers team. You got to beat them in the box. These guys don't chase very much. They have really good swing decisions. A lot of it's just finding a way to get in the box and challenge guys whenever you don't have your best stuff.
We'll finish up in the third row in the middle.
Reed, this is a matchup that the Japanese are paying attention because of the Senga, Otani, Yamamoto. How does it feel to pitch in a game that many Japanese people watch it?
Yeah, so I had a couple teammates from Japan text me or send me messages yesterday. It's cool. Obviously, I was lucky enough to have the experience to go over there and play. I enjoyed it. And to be a part, to see that culture and see how every day when we walked in the clubhouse in Japan and Shohei Ohtani's at bat is on TV, to know that that whole country is invested and involved in the series. It's kind of personal for me. I'm glad to be able to say that I was a part of that as well.
We'll do one more with Mark, far right.
Yep.
You've bounced around a lot, spent all of this year with the Mets. Do you feel like you've kind of found a home with the Mets here?
I kind of felt that way last year when I got over here. I am incredibly thankful for everybody in this organization, and I feel like this is a great spot, and we have a great group of people and staff and players, and I feel like this is a very close-knit family, if you will.
All right, guys, appreciate the time. Good luck tonight.
Thanks, guys.